I originally wasn't planning on telling this story today, but scurrying around, getting the microphones all set up, I decided I'd share one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had as a speaker. And what's interesting is oftentimes when I talk on stress, it's the most stressful talk that I do. In fact, my computer crashed and I lost hours of preparation that wasn't backed up getting ready for this, and I'm afraid I wasn't going to get my deadline. But the situation that came into my mind as I was scurrying around, making sure the technology was working, it was the first time I'd ever been invited to do a keynote at a conference. And so what I did was what oftentimes we do in situations that are new and different. I scared myself to death, just like Fran was talking about earlier. And not only did I scare myself because I had found a whole bunch of new research that I wanted to share with people, but I couldn't figure out how to put it together in a coherent way. And as I'm flying over, I'm thinking, I got to get it together pretty soon because the talk's coming. So between scaring myself over it, and also I turned that one incident into, and if I don't do well, it'll destroy my career. I mean, isn't it amazing how we do that? We what's called catastrophize. So I'm stressing myself over this talk, and incidentally, the talk was on trauma, so I'm traumatizing myself. Well, between stressing myself out and for 14 hours in the air from LA to Sydney, sitting next to Typhoid Mary, this lady like coughing and sneezing all over me. By the time I arrived, there we go, gotta love the microphones. By the time I arrived, I had her cold. And so here's the situation, my head's all stuffed up, and I sound horrible, but I didn't want to take any cold medicine because at a seminar, I don't know, about a year before, I'd taken way too much cold medicine. And I remember it like it was yesterday because I really wanted people to get this point. And I said, with tremendous import, it's so important to remember. And then it was like nothing, absolutely like the hard drive crashed. So I'm thinking, I don't want that to happen here, so no cold medicine. But instead what that meant was, I sounded like this. So as I'm walking onto the stage, I'm feeling really self-conscious, and I'm feeling bad for the audience that they have to listen to this voice for the next 90 minutes. But as I walk onto the stage feeling self-conscious, a little concerned, that fear disappeared because a more pressing fear emerged, and that was, remember, no cold medicine. I forgot Kleenex and my nose was starting to run. And so obviously it's not an option. So 5 minutes in, the faucets are turned on big time. I need to get out of there. So I come up with, on the spur of the moment, an exercise for people to do, and I get out of there. And I find a bathroom, stuff toilet paper in my pocket, blow my nose, blow my nose, blow my nose, blow my nose. Finally, I can breathe, and I'm ready, and I'm prepared, and I'm ready to go back, and I'm excited to share my message. I'd finally gotten it together on the flight over. I wouldn't have been so excited about returning if I'd realized the whole time I was blowing my nose, my wireless mic was on. Yeah. Of course it was recorded. And when I got back from the trip, I remember thinking, did it really sound that bad? It did. When I played it, I'm like, oh my God. I'm not exaggerating. It literally sounded like, and it went on and on and on. And as I'm listening to it, I'm like, this sounds like a flock of monster geese that's never ending. So remember, I have no idea I'm broadcasting. I come back on stage like, hi, I'm back. I get this major round of applause. And I thought they were just happy to see me until somebody announced why they were applauding. So hopefully I will de-mic after I'm finished here. But the story actually that I wanted to start off with captures the essence, at least part of the essence of what I want to share with you. And here's what happened. Several years back, I was rummaging through a box of audio tapes, and I came across a tape actually that a friend of mine had made. It was a tape letter. It was back before email and back before long-distance calls were so cheap, and so we would send tape letters back and forth. And I was curious. I noticed the date on it, and it was for, say 2 years earlier. And I thought, I wonder what was going on with her back then. So I plopped it in a tape deck, and I started to listen. And it's interesting, as I heard her tell her story, it was this really surrealistic experience. Because here's what was happening. She was going through a major life transition, that she was walking away from a career that she had loved for many years, but it no longer fit who she was. And some of you here might be in that position. Not only was she walking away from that career, and she was very successful in it, but also as part of this transition, she had sold her house. And here's the problem. She had sold her house, but she hadn't found a new place to live. And so there was this limbo of, now what? What am I going to do if I don't find a place in time? Where do I put my stuff, etc.? And it was touching, it was sweet, it was poignant, because I could hear her understandable anxiety, in her voice, but also she was trying to be really brave and joke about the situation. But the surrealistic part of it is imagine a split screen on a TV. On this screen is her speaking from the past, from 2 years ago, in the moment of that change, challenge, and uncertainty. On the other split screen, I'm here 2 years in the future, knowing exactly how the story turns out. And she finds exactly this place that is wonderful, that totally fits who she is and nourishes her. And so while she was having the understandable anxiety and angst, I had complete serenity in knowing that everything is going to turn out just right. And later I found myself thinking, isn't that what we all want when we're in the midst of that transition? And that's one of the gifts I see of resilience. The more we do the work to cultivate resilience, the more we're able to face challenging times with a sense of serenity and courage and optimism. And so that's one of the things that today's work can make a difference, ways that it can make a difference in your life. But there's another aspect of resilience that I think is really important to appreciate. And that is, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. Several years ago, a friend of mine decided that he was going to hike in the Andes.